Okay, so maybe we'll give people a couple minutes to
For sure.
trickle in.
Let me show this. Hold up.
Also, I need to check to see if it's actually. This is our first time using Restream, so
Right.
let's see what actually happened.
Oh yeah, it posted it straight up on.
Yeah, it just
Twitter. That's great.
Wow, look at that.
We love.
I can hear myself.
What about YouTube? Let's see. Oh yeah, it says we're live on YouTube.
Sick. Okay. I just retweeted.
Okay, now we need to check to see. Okay.
Okay, well, if there's anyone watching, we'll get started in just a minute or two here. I've got my million tabs open. Maybe we'll just give it until about the half hour, and then we will get going.
Oh, awesome! You can actually see the chats from across all of them. Amazing.
Folks, if you're with us early, go ahead and drop a little hello in the chat there. We love our early fans here, folks. This is a first ever Three Markets exclusive.
The early bird gets their order filled.
Exactly.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, sorry, we're just both Josiah and I are like navigating all of this.
On top of all of this, Matt is still on like Japan time, right? So
yeah, I'm jet lagged to all hell. Although right now I think it's morning, right? Time in Japan.
Yes, the Tokyo markets are.
I think, yeah.
I'm wide awake.
Oh wow,
I'm ready to go.
Totally.
How long? When did you come back?
I came back 2 days ago, technically. So
oh wow,
this is the last day that I was there for like 2.5 weeks. Very fun. I was talking to Josiah, or I think in our previous episode we talked about it is great to kind of just like take a break from things and I don't know, just be completely in another culture for a period of time.
For sure.
Yeah, good for the soul, and also good for I don't know, just looking at markets and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, it's like the meme of the guy looking out at the mountains on the horizon, and it's just the Bitcoin price chart. Okay, so we can probably get started. Let me share first the all-new Three Markets intro sting, folks. This is a work in progress. Matt and I have not looked at this together yet.
I haven't even seen this at all.
Let's go, baby. We can work with this, right? What do you actually think, Matt? Do you actually like it?
No, it's great. Yeah, I like it a lot. Live reaction right there.
Yeah, we're upping our game here, folks,
also,
right?
I can hear myself. Oh no, we're good now.
We're experimenting with live streaming and then turning that into clips and shorts and just approaching content that way, especially I think in the prediction market space as we're covering odds on different events and analyzing markets. Some of this content seems to get stale even within the couple hours it takes us to put an episode live. So this is a new format that we will mess around with, and to pair that with a new segment, our Builder Spotlight. We're joined today by second time Three Markets guest Caliph. Caliph, is it Caliph or Caliph?
Caliph, yeah, I just go by Caliph. It's a screen name.
At this point, it's a running joke. Caliph, next time, just shout at Josiah and be like, "This is the."
I'm just gonna every time I come on, I'm just gonna mess with you guys. Be like, no, it's Caliph, actually, guys. Trust me.
Okay, Caliph. You joined us once before to do a little bit of market analysis. We were looking in like episode 2 or episode 3 at some kind of historical world modeling and backtesting that you had done. Really fascinating episode that's on our YouTube channel for those who missed it. But we brought you back today because we want to talk about a project that you are building in the space. The project is Polyrouter. I think I can share a video you guys did on this. Let me see if I can get this right. Introducing Polyrouter. This is from about a month ago. The easiest way to build on prediction markets. I'll let you actually explain what this is, but I thought I would roll your video if that's cool.
Yeah, cool. I mean, So Polyrouter is saving the headache of integrating all these platforms.
Oh, sorry, I'm playing this right over you, aren't I?
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. I love commentating over it. I mean, the video is kind of long, but I guess I'll summarize. It's the open router of prediction markets, right? So we wanted to be able to give people access to all prediction market data in a unified format, so that they don't have to kind of worry about trying to manage all of the differences and the APIs and the changes and things like that, and be able to, like, build in confidence essentially. And we've been working pretty hard. We're supporting 7 different prediction markets right now, with some exclusive data with like from Novig and SXBet and ProfitX. And we're working with every day to get some more markets on there. We're talking to Entrave right now, and then a couple of other sports ones. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
What set you down this path? And you can start that farther back in kind of your journey into prediction markets. But then I'm curious about, the problem you're solving, if that was sort of scratching an itch of sort of trying to wrangle these APIs from Kalshi and Polymarket yourself. But maybe go even sooner than that. Like, what got you into prediction markets in the first place?
Yeah.
Dude, Matt, by the way, you're muted, Matt. You are muted, just so you know. Okay.
Definitely no, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's prediction markets have kind of dominated my life over the last year. I was living in New York at the time, around the election when the 2024 election happened, and I was really fortunate to get invited to the Polymarket election party at that time, like the Milady Polymarket election party. And I had a bunch of friends who were like in the crypto art sphere, and I was just like, okay, I'll tag along. But when I went to that party, I was surrounded by, one, some of the most intelligent people I've ever met, and two, people who were able to like articulate the value of a technology like prediction markets. And there's a difference between like being like, okay, these things can predict the future, and another thing being like in a room with like 100 other people who know the election results 12 hours before everybody else, right? And that kind of moment, while everybody is still kind of getting notifications from CNN and stuff like that, and being like, Kamala can still win or Trump is going to lose, and having that 99% prediction probability was just such a trip. And I was like, this is really powerful technology, and I really want to be a part of it. It's in its infancy, and I could totally see, as the development of AI and stuff kind of progress, how valuable some like having this kind of data would be for AI, or as we get to later on when prediction markets might have an influence on like decisions and policy and stuff like that. So yeah, I just want to be really engaged in the community.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that one thing, at least for me, like I'm really excited about this because when first engaging with prediction markets, it's kind of I don't know, a lot of different platforms I'll first go to any like API docs that they have and try to like play with it, or more importantly, like look at what others have built, stand on the shoulders of giants and kind of go through that. So I think it's really cool that you were focusing on kind of like, how do I build a tool to enable others to help kind of go through, or like, go through this building process, which is great.
Yeah. And I mean, I just think it's a really, it's like an interesting, like philosophical debate. I think it's like, how do you structure the actual events themselves, right? I think that there's a lot of different, working with these different APIs and stuff like that. There's a lot of different methodology that people have about how to structure events and series of events and markets. And it kind of, I feel like, tells you a lot about the individual company and what they see as like the future. It's kind of like, that's going to go like abstract, but I think it's just really cool. And I'm excited to be working on it.
So can I ask, around the time, it sounds like the election is what really prediction market pilled you. And that's true for a lot of us, right? It was a big moment for prediction markets. Kalshi obviously got their CFTC license to be a, totally legit in the US prediction market kind of right before the election. Robinhood then, of course, announced their partnership with Kalshi. And so that was just kind of a big going mainstream moment, I think, for folks who kind of looked at Polymarket or had some idea for it. But, being able to trade on the American presidential election was a big deal, I think, for prediction markets. Were you also trading in these markets around this time, or is your interest entirely as a builder?
You know, at the time, I was like not really into trading because I actually was like I was a lot more into sports analytics, right? Like I was very into sports analytics. I was really into like football at the time. And just from like my own research, I was like, this is a losing game, like in sports at least, because the house, the vig is baked in or whatever. But I
Right.
became a bit more interested in like trading after the election and kind of getting familiar with like the price action and stuff like that. I trade like not fairly frequently, but like whenever I feel like pretty confident about an edge, I might. But yeah, I think more so it's like the cyberpunk kind of philosophical implications of like the technology that prediction markets are.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. When working on this project and speaking of trading, was there anything that came up while building that's kind of like that almost like derailed you or like distracted you and like because that happens to me sometimes like when I'm focusing on a project I'll be like, oh, I'm building something for like another use case and then I'll just get like nerd sniped by something about that project. I'm not sure if that happened
Oh yeah.
to you at all.
I'm kind of getting nerd sniped right now. I currently, like, I think like the way that I'm thinking about like prediction market tooling and like the future prediction markets is um, that they're going to be entirely traded by agents. Like and like AI agents in the future will be the ones who are creating the markets, resolving the markets, and like providing liquidity to them. And the reason I think so is because I think that like prediction markets are one of the best like financial tools that we have for risk management in these kind of obscure gray areas where there might not be like an existing financial instrument that you can use to I guess like hedge risk and stuff like that. And I think that so that's all to say like right now I've been really into like developing like a bunch of AI agents and stuff like that to for a multitude of reasons. One of them was like obviously like trading just through natural language, like finding markets and stuff like that. But the other one that's really cool was I found out about this company called Ara, or something like that. I'll let me see. I'll pull it up. Um, Aru, I think it's called. Yeah, Aru. I'll share. Let me share this. Can I share this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
go for it.
There's this incredible. This is really interesting. I've been kind of like chilling up. There's this really interesting company. Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Aru. Huh.
Yeah. So there's this company that I read about, and it's like a bunch of like crack 17-year-olds. And what they do is they create look at the products. They essentially use like a bunch of LLMs, and then they create like a giant like demographic, or like they create the agents based on the demographic of whatever you're measuring, right? So it can be for politics, it can be for consumer brands and stuff like that. And I was thinking, like, if and they essentially use those LLMs to ask them, would you vote on this? How would you react to this thing? And I was thinking, if you can get these accurate simulations based on AI agents by just simulating this population, they use like thousands of agents. How would that translate to like prediction markets, right? Because that's kind of the entire philosophy of prediction markets, like having this wisdom of the crowd be able to be generated and simulated. Shouldn't these agents be as accurate as me or you? And so I've just been on this kind of like like kind of
Fascinating.
spiral, just like learning about like how to create these like simulations of agents to kind of act as like market makers for prediction markets.
So
And
Aru creates a swarm of agents, prompts them to have the demographic traits of a certain demographic, and then
mhm.
polls them the way that like a Gartner or a I don't know who does the big political polling in the US, but then polls the AIs in order to basically
Yes,
simulate like a wide sample poll of people with those traits. That is
That's
freaking
nuts.
crazy.
it's ridiculous, and it's really interesting because they are very accurate. There was the reason they kind of came to their claim to fame was that they predicted the SF elections because they got it within like 500 votes or something like ridiculous like that. And like and they're so young, they're like 15 and 19. And so this thing has just been like thinking about how to like how to utilize this new technology in like new novel ways that people aren't even thinking about, and thinking about how can prediction markets be more than just betting? How can they be like an actual forecasting tool? How can they actually provide valuable insights for not only like businesses but also normal people? So it's just so exciting.
That's so
Absolutely.
fascinating because like the first thing I think about is like that I think you may have alluded to this before with it being like a little bit philosophical, is like the exciting thing about prediction markets is that it's an incentivized version of wisdom of the crowds. But if you could simulate the crowd, you may
Yeah.
not even need the prediction market depending on the thing. I mean, obviously that's not true. There's like a lot of nuance to that. Real humans like have edges in different ways and can
Yeah,
pull information that like an agent might not, but like to get a baseline or to like start with it, I don't know, that's really cool. I could see how
Yeah.
that would get your attention or get anyone's attention. Really, this is super
There's
fascinating.
I'm really excited. I'm probably in the next couple of weeks. I've been working trying to like recreate what Aubrey's doing just for prediction markets. And it's
Huh.
very like it's I guess I'll talk about it more in like the coming weeks because I'm working with somebody on it. And I'm so excited to like kind of get that out to just be able to demo it because like I think it's like it's really a trip. Like you think about something theoretically, like thinking like AI agents predicting the future is ridiculous. But then you see it happen in real time. And go like, oh my god, this is crazy. So, yeah.
Nice.
What kind of markets do you think that's good for, though? Like, I guess the political markets are an obvious example where like polling can give you some kind of alpha, I suppose. But I'm thinking about like a lot of the markets on Kalshi and Polymarket today are ones like, what company will have the best AI model is one that I want to talk about later at the
Yeah.
end of 2025. That's a tough one to use, I think, to use, or I might just not be thinking creatively enough about like how the AI demographic simulation would be an input to that, or like I'm looking at it now. It's like top Spotify artists of 2025. Like, can you sim that? I don't know.
Oh, I feel like that second one I think would be really a great application with this, just because you could simulate a bunch of demos, right?
You know what? That might be a cool project because I've been thinking I want to do like more. I've been working on Polyrouter for like the past couple of weeks, so I haven't had time to like do any like cool research projects like the last 30 we talked about. But that's a really cool one. I actually might do that.
So wait, in that example though, quickly, you guys are saying you would be creating a swarm of like 1 million agents, giving them I guess different demos, and then asking them which artist they want to stream on Spotify. Is that what you're doing? Like
literally, yes, literally,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
That's literally what would happen. But again, because if you think about like how the wisdom of the crowd works, right? The idea is that and the other thing is does interesting things as well. They give them like their own like social media diet. So they generate like a Twitter profile for them and then feed them tweets based on like whatever that profile would. But anyways, I think that like the it would kind of like, I think that that's kind of the methodology behind it. And the other question that you asked about like where would this actually be applicable, right? Like I think one, like modeling, like in terms of current prediction markets that you see on Kalshi and Polymarket, is obviously like a good use case if you want to like trade. But what I actually think the big kind of change that we'll see in prediction markets is this shift away from these kind of novelty markets and again into this kind of like risk management, predictive forecasting thing. So for example, right, if you are able to get more accurate, consistent predictions than an insurance agency on the likelihood of a area of forest burning down, right, and getting better forecasts for the likelihood of having to like pay out that claim, that becomes a very useful tool for that not only makes money, but the insurance agency would be incentivized to switch over to a prediction market based model where it's a bunch of agents simulating XYZ. And I think like you could kind of spread that out to any like industry that is focused on forecasting or that is relying on forecasting, like for example like finance and things like that, or for example like another one that's I think is really interesting is again like how do you make policy decisions, right? I don't want to be like full foodarchy. What is it foodarchy? But I think that like but I think that there's a lot of incentive to have better researched forecasting methods that you can reliably call on to make better decisions, and I think we'll see more of that in the future.
Yeah, epidemiology is probably another good example of like I believe that the prediction markets, I mean, certainly there are markets now for predicting like number of measles cases and things.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, I think we like this about you because I got this sense from you in the first time when you joined Three Markets, and Matt and I think this way too of like, there are some markets that are fun. There are mentioned markets that are kind of fun and could be useful in
Right.
one way or another. But there's also something much, much deeper going on, which is like, how can these things be useful? How can they, help people to manage risk or help people to literally forecast the future? And what are the applications even of that if you're doing it well? And that's certainly, I think, is where our head is at a little bit too. I'm sure you've seen this. This is being pulled from like a very
Yep.
popular
Yeah.
Dune Dash, of like how accurate is Poly Market. But the numbers really speak for themselves. Like it is pretty wild. 4 hours before markets settle, they're 95.1% of the time are accurate, which I think
Mhm.
means maybe one of you guys has a better sense for exactly how this is calculated. I think it means 95% of the time a market resolves, or so if a market is trading at 65% when it resolves, or in this case, 4 hours before resolution, you take all of the markets that are trading at 65%, and 65 out of 100 of them resolve to yes, and
Mhm.
the remaining whatever it is 35 resolve to no. I think that that's how this is kind of calculated.
Yeah, I think it's calculating the Brier score, right? That number is the Brier score.
Right.
Oh, I get
Yes.
no. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty incredible. I think like this is when I talk to people about like what prediction markets are good for, and I'm telling them like, you can forecast 95% of the outcome accurately for anything 4 hours in the future. They're like, okay. But for some reason, I feel like for people, they don't have that understanding of how useful it is to be able to see 4 hours into the future 95% of the time. Like that's pretty incredible technology that, people have the entire history of humanity is like kind of led up to. If you think about it, like in terms of trying to, you know, uh, just develop something like this is pretty incredible. And yeah.
Nice.
Totally. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was just gonna I was gonna tangent back to Polyrouter, so just have to finish your thought and then I can.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, I think the editors at Kalshi and Polymarket, being the two big platforms, will play an important role in market selection. Like, it is kind of up to them to show us, markets that are interesting ones to price. The Fed funds markets, for instance, I think are
Mhm.
like ones that at least are somewhat actionable. They get a ton of volume. But then, lately I do feel like sports has taken a huge spotlight from these things. Sports feels like it's in its own kind of category. There's perhaps less kind of practical applications of forecasting sports events, just 4 hours out. Which isn't to say that there's no application. I know that like Kalshi and others, I think, have made a case that, like, for instance, if a team is doing better, investors might make decisions about how to, literally invest in like areas around an arena, or in a city
Mhm.
based on how the team is performing. This, I think, is part of their argument that predictive kind of intelligence around how a sports team is doing has a social utility beyond just being sports betting.
Right.
Although that might be a stretch, right? I won't I won't comment further.
Can I add this? Can I add something real quick to that before you continue? It's okay. I kind of agree that it can be a stretch, but I will say that the New Orleans Saints, I think if I remember correctly, whenever they have winning streaks, the murder rate in the city literally goes to zero. Like there's no murders whenever the Saints win
Hmm.
games or whatever, and it's like a very documented thing.
Hmm.
And it's been really funny because they're like, I think like the police use like the money lines to like disperse like spread like patrols and stuff like that, based
Wow.
on how people will react to the Saints. So there is some merit there. I don't think it's like as big of a thing that is discussed, but I think it's just funny. Let me see if we can find that article. But yeah.
It's a great example. It's a very interesting example. Yeah.
Nice. To kind of go back to Polyrouter and what
Mhm.
you've been working on there, when building out, you mentioned that there's like a number. How many markets did you say that Polyrouter supports?
Currently 7.
7. Nice. That's awesome.
Mhm.
I'll be frank. I only knew of like a couple of them. I didn't even know there were 7
There's a
markets
lot of
that are
them.
out there.
There's a
That's
lot.
awesome.
Yeah.
Did you already like know of those 7 markets when first building them out, or did you have folks like reach out to you? Like, was this also like a discovery kind of project in realizing that there was a lot more out there? Yeah, I'm curious to hear more about that.
Oh yeah, I think for me, like I was just interested kind of because I knew that there was like Betfair in the UK, and I knew that there was a lot of long history in my research of prediction markets kind of coming about. But like this kind of CTFC innovation has really shared, brought people to realize how, how many markets there are. Let me see. I want to here. If you guys can put this in the screen share this.
Yeah.
Actually, let me screen share this. Actually,
Cool. Yeah. 1 second.
Go ahead. Yeah, there's this great graph of how many prediction markets there are. There's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 prediction markets that are big, and then some of them are even getting left off. Hyperod is one that is like there's so many different markets that are coming about, and
Right.
if we can like platforms, yeah, like that are completely providing their own liquidity, that, and there's more that are kind of left off this list, like I think Kairos, the Bitcoin one, is left off this list. Yeah, there's just so many, like, and we're going to see more of this. These are all kind of like crypto based. I think that this is not even accounting the Trump one that's coming out, the what is it, the FanDuel one. Yeah. I mean, there's just there's a pretty huge amount of innovation and being able to kind of accommodate to all these markets and get them integrated with existing developer infrastructure is like a really important problem.
Nice. And you also alluded to it before when talking about how people use this data for different things, but like, were there any example use cases so there was some that you had in mind for yourself, but like now that this is fleshed out, it's, other folks can like interact with it and use it. Are there any use cases that have come up since then that you expect people to use this for? You mentioned agents before, but I don't know if there's any others.
Yeah, there's a lot of really, I have a Discord that I'm like active in every day, and I try to keep it as open as possible, and I get reached out to by tons of people being like, hey, I'm using it for this specific use case. One of the most interesting one is like research, like, again, like a lot of not even like backtesters, like just straight up like universities who are trying to use Polyrouter to try to see like the kind of like what Alpha Arena was. But there's like there's but there's all these people kind of trying to see how good are these like different AI models at predicting the future, and how well can they use research tooling, and how well can they like build out scaffolding, because that's a really important problem. Like, how if we were going to trust these AI models in the future, they need to be accurate in their assessment of the future, like anybody else would, right? And there's also like the other side, which is like people who are like really into hyper gamification stuff, and being like, oh yeah, I want to use Polyrouter to offer like leverage parlays on top of like cross-platform stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I mean, go for it. And it's like there's such a that's kind of my favorite part of working on this, is there's so much creativity in how people are using this data in ways that I would have never thought of.
Are people using it to arb between Kalshi and Polymarket?
Yeah, I mean, that's I will have to go kind of give you a demo, because that's kind of one of the biggest use cases.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I mean, let me just get this up.
And then while you're getting that up, we have a chatter who has a profile picture that looks awfully similar to Josiah there, who's asking about government shutdown markets. Thomas, we will probably...
My brother, yeah. Yeah, Thomas, we're doing the builder spotlight right now, okay? With our guest Caliph, who built a unified API, unifying data between the major platforms, okay? But we can gossip about your gov shutdown resolution a little later.
Well, okay, I think I've got to hold that. Let's see. Yeah, okay. This is kind of what I wanted. Let's see. Let's do another one.
While you pull this up, like the episode of Odd Lots this morning, did you listen to it, Matthew?
No, I didn't.
Let me make sure
We're
get
big Odd Lots fans.
Cliff Asness is the guest, and this is like a hedge fund guy, a quant, I believe, from AQR, which I don't know exactly what AQR is. Capital Management. It's like a private hedge fund. I think he said on the pod when they asked him about it, like, yeah, we're exploring prediction markets. Tracy Alloway said something like, SIG is getting into, or SIG is getting into prediction markets. Are you guys getting into prediction markets? And it does strike me a little bit that your product, Polyrouter, is kind of like what even these institutional traders would be using, either to backtest or to arb between the markets, or, like it does serve a real purpose for folks who are kind of platform agnostic in the space.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like the traders are kind of the biggest customers right now. I do a lot of outreach, and people are the thing we're trying to launch. We're supposed to launch it this week, but we have some other exciting stuff coming up. But next week we're going to be launching historical order books, which traders have been like asking for, and I'm really excited to get that out and get some feedback because that's
Rookie
kind of one of
what?
the
What is
first
it?
historical order books.
Oh,
So
interesting.
right now, yeah, so right now you can't access historical order books on Polymarket or Kalshi. Um, so what we're doing right now is we're taking snapshots of every single market on those two platforms to not only
Are
get
you
the
really? Yeah,
order.
smart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's pretty. It's I think like it was pretty naive initially, being like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a pretty easy project, but then you realize how fast that data scales up, and like
Mhm,
trying
mhm.
to having to manage it. It's been a really
Right.
interesting like engineering problem.
And
But yeah,
neither platform offers that data in their public API, right?
no, you could like theoretically like recreate it from tick data and like recreate it by well, you can't even really do that because you can only see the trades executed. So you wouldn't be able to see like limit orders. So yeah, no,
Right,
there's no way
right.
to like access it. Um,
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, that answers for or that becomes a ingredient people can use to really come up with like proprietary strategies. Like how quickly once a news story hits the wire, does the order book clear, ahead of
mhm,
resolution or something? And
exactly,
you can even
exactly.
see if you look in the order book sometimes you can see structured, limit orders that are clearly market makers. Just the size of the
Right.
order on both sides of the thread. Or yeah, it's somebody either an institutional market maker or somebody just trying to farm the rewards on that market. How quickly do they clear their limit orders the moment like
Right.
a piece of news hits the wire, etc.?
Yeah. So it's really exciting, and we're looking to launch them next week. So, but I did want to show you because we were talking about ARB stuff.
Please.
Probably the coolest thing that we worked on is so essentially we have these sports specific. So this is the docs. This is kind of where you can access all these different products. So you can get the traditional like market information. We support Kalshi, Limitless Manifold, Polymarket, just to get any kind of markets. And then there's the events, which are only for Polymarket and Kalshi, which kind of like encapsulate what markets are. And then series also kind of encapsulate events and stuff like that. We also let you analyze like profiles and like a P&L of different wallets and stuff like that. But the coolest thing is that we have these sports dedicated endpoints, kind of coming from a iGaming sports betting kind of perspective. This was so standard in how you interacted with data, and it just doesn't exist, right? So you can come and get a list of games. We can look at the NFL, or if there's any NHL games. Yeah, there's some NHL games, but let's say we want to look at the NFL, right? And we can get the games. We can get this game ID. The Jets are, I guess, playing the what is it, the Patriots, I guess, tonight, and we can just go here with just one game ID, and then we can, we support all these different platforms: Polymarket, ProfitX, Novid, Kalshi, SXBet, and then we can just get whatever kind of market type we want to look at. So we want to look at the money line, right? Um, and we can wait a bit, and then we can see that for Polymarket, what is it? The Patriots, or I guess the Jets, are at like 14 cents. And then we can go down a bit, and then we can see that on Kalshi. Let's see if there's any difference. It's the same price, right? But there's like a quarter, half cents difference, and then you can keep going down. You can see what is this SX bet. There's actually look at that. I guess there's a small price difference. That's 12 cents, and then this up here is 14 cents, and you can depending on whatever platform you're looking at and the fees, that's a pretty okay arb opportunity. It's what, like 2 cents across. And yeah, and it's just one API call. You only need the game ID and then the market type, and then you can find these opportunities like programmatically if you just kind of refresh and query these.
It's
So
huge
yeah,
for
it's like
builders. Yeah. It's
it's
almost
huge,
like
and
builders today are sorted into either starting with call sheet stuff or starting with Polymarket stuff, just depending on like which API they start with, right? And then they
exactly.
maybe try to stitch in the other one later. Whereas if they just start with Polyrouter, all of that is just solved for them, right?
And that's the idea, right? Like I think that it's important to be platform agnostic. In some ways, I think maybe early on it makes sense to align with like a specific platform, especially if you're trying to get like if you're not like a smaller company, or if you're like a smaller creator and a builder and you want to kind of build some rapport in the community. It's pretty important. But if you're, like a seasoned trader who's trying to like, eke out profits, or a enterprise or something like that, who is, not as tribalistic and wants to just focus on making the best kind of business decisions as possible, there's no reason to not go with Polyrouter, So yeah, it's pretty incredible. And we also, and then, there's also some quality of life stuff. So you can do like searches. You can enter like, search for markets with like keywords across like, what is it? Whatever. So if you want to look at like Bitcoin markets, for example, on Polymarket, we can, search for Bitcoin, or if you want to look at Trump markets on, Caliph, we can do that too. And that's, that's stuff that is just not available in the traditional API that, makes life so much easier for builders.
So is the secret sauce to all of this just like natural language processing? Like for to have a unified game ID, a lot of the times the title for two markets that are close to identical on Caliph and Polymarket, the wording though will be different, right? Even I think for sports markets, the wording could be a little bit different. Which team maybe they put here or there. How are you literally, or maybe this is your secret sauce, but like, how are you literally associating both those markets into like a single data return? API
So
return?
that's actually an interesting question. It really depends per platform, right? So Polymarket and Caliph, like if we want to look at what game was I looking at? Let's see. That's a pretty interesting problem. Like Polymarket and Caliph are pretty easy, right? Because they create the actual like market slugs based on the actual team. So like, for example, if I go, okay, let's look at like Polymarket, for example. What is it? You can see that. So where is it? I guess the event slug you can see is like the actual, just like the league, the actual teams that are playing, and then the date. And then if we go to like Caliph, it's kind of the same deal where it's the KX NFL game. And then there's a few other things with like SXBet and ProfitX, because they are operating with contract addresses. Like there's not like event slugs like there is on Polymarket. So we have to like query the list of games that they're providing, and then see if the teams from this query parameter here match whatever games are provided by like SXBet or whatever, and then go in there and then use like a keyword search, Moneyline, for example, to find the relevant market, and then retrieve that and then format it and blah, blah, blah. So it's like it's kind of like super hacky. And, as I was making it, it made me appreciate, God, if I was building this from scratch and I wasn't doing this full time, this would suck. Like this is something that nobody wants to do by hand. It kind of was like made me believe the product even more, being like, wow, I'm saving myself time with this. So
Totally. This feels like it's going to be a core, what do you call it, primitive that just the whole ecosystem is going to build on. Caliph, since you're interested in the AI side of all of this too, do you want to stick around with us for a little bit of market analysis? Because the first one I wanted to ask you guys about, or that I wanted to share with Matt, which I'd love your take on too, is the Gemini 3.0 release date. So I can give a little bit of context for this market. Like we actually on 3 markets covered when will Gemini 3.0 come out, like 2 or 3 months ago. And there have been like multiple months now where prediction markets have basically priced, Gemini to release at like 40 or 50%, and then it immediately settles to 0 as the thing gets delayed.
Right.
We're now approaching the end of the year. The Google CEO, Sundar Pichai, has said previously that Gemini 3.0 would release this year before the end of the year, which gives us like 6 weeks left. And I will pull up what we're currently trading at.
I'm looking at it on Caliph. Yeah, it's kind of like what do they call it? The bonds, the market bonds. 96%.
Yeah. What are you seeing on Caliph?
I'm seeing 96% that Gemini 3.0 releases this year.
By December 31st, yeah. And so that's what Polymarket is showing too. 97% for December 31st. I think that is almost entirely based on this comment by Sundar that it will come out before the end of the year. But that comment was made several months ago. And I think at that time, people were really expecting that this would release considerably earlier. And the speculation, I stumbled into this video by a pretty good AI YouTuber. Let me share this tab. Theo T3.
Oh, Theo, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you watched this one. I'll play just like a minute of the intro of this.
The Gemini 2.5 Pro preview dropped back in March earlier this year. Since then, we've had Llama 4, Qwen 3, Claude 4, Claude 4.1, Claude 4.5, GPT-5, O3, O4 Mini, GPT-5 Codex, and many, many more models. Which leads us to the obvious question. Where the fuck is Gemini 3? Seriously, I've been hearing rumors that this model's coming out this week for about 3 months now.
So he goes on to make what I think is like a pretty decent case, which is basically, if you just think about the release of these models, you know, especially for the hyperscalers, they want to always be releasing a state-of-the-art model. Like if they're not going to be winning on at least one of the benchmarks, they're just not going to release that thing. And it's feeling like Google slipped a little bit with Gemini 3. They maybe, you know, maybe they could have won on one or another benchmark, but they waited too long. They maybe are now trying to do a little more RL or sprinkle in a little more data or something in order to kind of get it to a state. But it's almost like if they kind of miss their window of being able to release a model that actually impresses, of course, it's going to be better than their latest model. But if it can't kind of be state of the art in one or another category, then they might just need to kind of shelve the thing and move on, or otherwise like heavily delay it, which makes me wonder 97% likelihood on both Kalshi and Polymarket for it to release before December 31st isn't like a pretty positive EV bet to take the no on.
I'm trying to think. I mean, Matt, do you want to go ahead? I'm trying to pull up this tweet that I saw recently about this that I think is kind of relevant. Give me one sec. I think like sorry. Let's see. I think that it's pretty. I feel like the 97% accuracy is just too confident. Like it's way too confident for the no. Like I think, and the reason being that one, I know that Google. The thing I'm trying to pull up right now is that I know, you know, I don't know if you've seen like when you use Cursor and you use Gemini 2.5, right? It's a great model on its own. Like if you use it in AI Studio, but if you try to use it in Cursor and like any other kind of like context, it like does this thing where it like melts down and spirals because it's like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I suck, I the worst model ever. And it's really interesting because I was reading a thread from a researcher that was talking about it and was saying that that's usually like an indication of like an issue in the reinforcement learning process, right? Where there's so much negative feedback to give into a model that they feel they need to signal like, I'm sorry, I understand that I was wrong, let me fix this, right? And that can have, you know, pretty severe consequences as you scale up, right? Because you're, you know, if you're spending tokens or whatever, apologizing for something, or if you're spending, you know, that's kind of getting integrated into like the reasoning of it being like, I'm a screw up, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, that, you know, that could
has low self-esteem. It was trained. It has
literally low self-esteem. Yeah. And I think like, I'm trying to find, man, I wish I could find it because it's so perfect. But yeah, I think you know, that's a big issue that you know, that might come up, especially if you're trying to get to like a state-of-the-art model. I think that, you know, Cursor you know, for coding has really pushed things with Composer 1, and I don't, obviously it's not like it's not like a base model or anything, but still there's a lot of competition, so I wouldn't be surprised if they delayed it till they got those use cases or those kind of graphs that they want or benchmarks beat.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I think 97% is pretty confident with 48 days left in the year to like, I don't know. And also with Kimi 2 coming out, GPT 5.1.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like it's going to take some time. Will it release within the end of the year? Maybe, but 97% chance just feels really high. And I'd be more than happy to take the no for the next 20 days and then maybe sell it after that. But I don't know, 48, 50, I don't know if I'm actually counting the days right, but until the end of the year is sometime.
Right. Yeah. It feels like the thing that the market is clinging to, and this is actually a pretty high volume market. Like there's like $11 million of volume on Polymarket alone trading on when will Gemini 3 release. And it feels like the 97% is almost entirely resting on the fact that the CEO months ago in like a completely unrelated keynote mentioned that it would drop before the end of the year. People say that all the time, you know?
Yeah, Rockstar Games says that Grand Theft Auto 6 was going to come out,
yeah.
5 different times.
So to your point, Matt, the guy who made the "Where the fuck is Gemini 3.0" video, Theo, tweeted, "At this point, it feels like GTA 6 might happen before Gemini 3."
I promise I did not see this.
No, I believe you. I believe you. And then received the, I don't know how you buy. What is this emoji actually called? From the lead product for Google Studio, which is interesting. I mean, this is almost just like an insider leak. I don't know how you interpret this comment, but this is the official Google response to speculation that GTA 6 will happen before Gemini 3. They're aware that this has been delayed. This has almost definitely been delayed, right?
Right.
The other somewhat interesting, speculation that I've picked up on Reddit is Google announced just recently that they're deprecating different Gemini 2.5 Flash models on November 18th.
Right.
Which is an interesting day. Yeah, I mean, we're 5 dates away from that. So I kind of interpret that as like perhaps the spread trade to take here is basically to say it will release before November 22nd, but it won't release before December 31st, right? And you're basically, assuming, okay, if it is ready to go, they're going to put it out. They're going to launch them. If it is state of the art at anything, they're going to launch the model. If not, if they missed their window and they kind of got run over by the, what was it, the Kimi model, Matt? Is that what it's called? Or any of these other releases that have happened, then they're probably not going to, they're not training a new model from scratch by the end of the year between now and then. So I kind of like take the yes on, I mean, I would almost even take a tiny little yes on November 15th, but really take the yes on November 22nd based on the deprecation of existing models and take the no on December 1st. I haven't actually put this trade on, but like I'm tempted,
Right. I mean, what I would do is I would just like put a no on the end of the year and then just kind of wait it out and then try to see if you can, because if that goes to like what, 8%, 6%, you double your money. I mean, that's how I would kind of play it.
Right.
I was saying the same thing. Yeah. 50 days and there's going to be natural decay over time.
Yeah, there's going to be pretty significant decay, I feel.
In fact, there's probably, and Polyrouter would be the tool to use for this. There's probably some historic, precedent you can look at for exactly how much these markets have decayed leading up to, because there were strikes for August 31st, September 30th, October 15th, October 31st. Here, let me share the freaking thing again, because it's kind of remarkable. Like the October 31st market, which had $3 million in volume, was at one point trading at 84% likelihood that Gemini 3 releases before October 31st. With, in fact, it was as high as 88%, dude. And then kind of craters to zero. The October 15th market looks like it was a little bit lower volume. Oh, it kind of never traded that high. Huh. And
it could be something up with this strike. I mean, look at September 30th. Or no, it's the historical data. I think this is part of what Polyrouter might help with. But like where some markets, if you look back at like older strikes, it just won't show you anything.
They show interesting.
Or it gets all like busted.
It's a little bit busted. It would be interesting to pull from Polyrouter kind of the historic, even potentially the order book, kind of positions for some of these older strikes and have an actual like model for, okay, exactly how much on a daily basis do I expect this, outcome to decay as we advance toward the end of the year and it doesn't release.
Could you guys give me the link to that market? I'm going to see if I can actually do that right now. Nice. I'm really curious because I should be able to, because I can look at the price history for any market. So let's see.
Yeah, I just dropped that in our chat here.
Sick.
Also, there's with all these strikes, I kind of feel bad. There's got to be someone in this market who is just like so excited about Gemini that they bought yes for every single strike.
Yeah, dude,
it's like on October 15th. No, it's got to be October 30th. No, it's got to like.
My god,
there has to be someone in here.
Let's see. Gemini, August. August 31st. Let's see. I'm looking at Polymarket.
Here's the
Join
guy.
release
Here's
by-
the guy, Matt. He's a fan of the show, you know. So it's all love from us. But this guy said this is the most mispriced market on Polymarket. Gem tested on public, which is true. I think a visual release might be sooner than most people think. And somebody responded and said, "Yeah, you really went on it, LOL," and basically shared his trade history of being, you know, betting that it would happen before. Oh no, sorry. I guess he's saying he doesn't have a huge position in it. But there, you know, there's two sides to this one, I guess. You know, there are people out there who strongly and publicly believe that the release is coming any day now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. I found the market for the. Let's see if we get any price data, or if this data is available. It's good. This is good for me to know. Give me 1 sec.
No worries.
I'm really
There's
curious.
also-
So, like, yeah, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, I was just saying. I'm just really curious about, like, you know, whether, you know, because Google. I mean, this is just kind of speculation, but Google was because one of the first kind of companies to integrate prediction markets internally for decisions and things like that. I wonder if they look at the Poly market or the college or whatever and are curious about how people are like speculating.
Well, it
on,
looks like the guy Logan Kilpatrick is aware of it, right? I mean, here he is commenting on Twitter. I guess I don't know if he's fully aware of the prediction market side of it. I think
Right.
people observed that there were OpenAI insiders trading on the OpenAI browser, or at least it was speculated that there were because there was a ton of yes buying. You know.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to point out is that there's a bunch of markets to build different kind of hedge strategies around this trade for when Gemini 3.0 will release, including which company has the best AI model by end of 2025. Like if we stick with our thesis that Google wouldn't release 3.0, Gemini 3.0, unless it was state of the art. Already this market is pricing for Google to have the best model by the end of 2025. So I guess like the trade here would be to basically bet that Google will have there's some hedge you can do here kind of with the thesis that like if it's not state of the art they wouldn't release it. For instance, you could take the no for it actually releasing by December 31st, but then take the yes for Google having the best model by the end of 2025. And there's like 14 points of kind of like, you know, ARB alpha there, if you will.
I guess the only case that wouldn't work is if Google does release the model before the end of the year and it isn't state of the art.
Right, that's true. And actually, I suppose that like a 14% likelihood of that, which is what these markets are implying, it seems decent. Actually, like it does seem like there's probably a 10% chance that they do release it, but that it doesn't hit the chatbot arena benchmark that that resolves that market.
Yeah. I kind of like that. I kind of like the hedge. I'll be right back, guys. I'm just kidding.
Definitely. There's a few other there's actually quite a few, prediction markets around this stuff. There's another for will any AI model reach a 1500 plus score on Chatbot Arena by December 31st, which I think is the same benchmark that's being used to resolve the which company will have the best model. So I haven't thought about it for long enough, but like there's definitely some kind of like multi-market strategies you can build around if you're operating from sort of a central thesis, like of, okay, companies release models that are the best. And you could even look historically at, for all of the historic releases of new models, how often are they leading on that benchmark,
Yeah. Speaking of which, I just found the price history, which is pretty interesting for the market we're looking at.
Can you share?
We're talking about, yeah, let me share it. Let me see. I was just fiddling. Yeah, it requires Unix timestamp, so I was just fiddling around with the Unix timestamp. So we're looking at the market. So this is the market that we were looking at, the August 31st one, and this is the market ID. And then let's see. So this is the daily interval. Let's see if we can get any. So this is about 2 weeks out, right? So we can see about 2 weeks out, it was kind of the price was 8%. So this is kind of the open, high, low, close. It was around 8%, which is really interesting that it would close by,
but yeah, that was fully 2 weeks. 2 weeks
a full
before.
2 weeks.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this is 8% chance, and then as we can see, as the days kind of go by, it was kind of clipping down like 0.5%, which is pretty interesting. And then it closed, it went pretty low at some point. I wonder if this is like how much volume was there in here?
For
There
which
was a
date
pretty.
strike is this?
This is for the last 2 weeks. So this is from the. Let's see. This is from September 1st, so at the very end, and then goes up to 2 weeks prior. So that would be like September 15th, essentially.
But for which market? Like, is it for
Oh,
the
for
out-
the sorry. This is for the yes Gemini 3.0 will be released by August
by
31st.
August 31st? Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. So
that
the
was.
August 31st one is particularly low volume. Do you want to pull it for October 31st?
Let me pull it up for October. Yeah, let's see.
Because that
I
one
guess
has
this is a good way to show how the workflow, I guess. Usually
Totally.
what I do is I go Gemini. I literally use the search tool. So Gemini, what is it? October 31st.
Yeah, let's look at the October 31st because that one has the most volume of the
And then there you go.
result markets.
So there's the August. We can go to the event ID, I guess. If we want to see October 31st, there's the ID, and it's literally just like a search, right? And then we can see.
Jet is asking, what do you all use to do all this research? So Caliph is showing us Polyrouter right now, which is a unified API pulling data from both call sheet and Polymarket. And we are looking at the historical price decay for the When Will Gemini 3.0 release by outcomes in order to kind of get a sense for how it might decay as we approach, the next outcome, which is actually like November 15th, although that one's trading quite low.
So this is the October 31st market. 5738111. Oh shoot, I'm so dumb. I just closed it. How do I? Let's see. History.
It has like
let's
nearly 3 million in volume.
Let me pull it up one more time. Sorry. Okay. And then let's see. Copy that date. 10 time. So let's see. And then we want to do 1 day. We'll do 14 days.
So for the start time, you're having to like you grab the Unix time from a Unix time.
You have to grab the Unix. Yeah, you have to grab the Unix time because there's just not a good way. I mean, we can really like enter a date, but people want granularity in terms of Unix time. So yeah, so this is how many days? So the end date is October 1st, and then you can see that's when it closes. But in the 2 weeks leading up to it, it was still pretty high. There was a 14% chance around. It was getting pretty active volume as well because the price is kind of fluctuating. So what, 14%? It closed at about 12%, and then it went to 10%, and then it kind of went to 6%, and then it pretty steadily declined. I kind of want to graph this actually. I'm really curious about these close times because it feels like it's kind of going logarithmically.
So sorry, when we're looking at the close price, we're looking at
the close price for the yes. That's the yes contract.
And it's an actual filled order,
yes.
Right? I see.
Yeah.
As opposed to
it's the I think so the way that this specific price history works is you can get the past trades. So we're literally just grabbing the past trades and then getting the price that they was filled at or the mid price or whatever. And then that's what the open high low close means.
The past trades that actually filled. Sorry, I'm wrapping my head around that. Got you. So how would it be different if we graphed out the close prices over time? Would we be looking at different information than just looking at the Polymarket graph for that outcome?
No, you would. It's the same. It's the same data. I mean, it's the same. It's because that's what's showing on the actual Polymarket graph.
It might be represented differently though, right? Because isn't Polymarket and call sheet don't they look at the average?
They look at the mid price, so it actually might. Yeah, you're actually right. It might be a bit different
versus like close, but close is like, I mean, at least for when developing and also plotting it out, I actually think it's more relevant than like because like because
this is daily, so it's the close for the actual day of trading. I think there's more data if I go to like a smaller, more granular kind of size. Let's see. So yeah, there's a bit more data on the 4-hour time frame. I wonder how many I can actually get it. But yeah, there's let's see. Yeah, these are all the trades for this specific time frame, I guess, in 4 hours. Yeah, I mean, anyways, I think the most interesting thing though was that it was going down by 2%. It seemed to like, kind of go down by like 20% every single day as within the first 2 weeks as it kind of got closer. So I feel like for Gemini 3, it might be, worth it to just put a no right now and try to see if that decay is like in your favor.
Right.
I guess that's
Totally.
the most elegant way I can put it.
Totally. Yeah, it's a really interesting market. We'll have to keep watching it. I do think the kind of narrative of like what's the game theory internally on the Google AI team of thinking about, do we launch the model or not, and then realizing, okay, we just got front run by GPT 5.1 just dropped last night, right? Here they've been teasing Gemini 3.0 for like months. Even if it would have been state of the art, let's say over GPT-5, maybe 5.1 just front ran it, and now they're delaying it into Q1 for sure, or maybe they're not. Maybe they cave, but I don't think that these companies will cave to kind of public pressure for a new model if it means that they are releasing a model that is not state of the art in at least one of these benchmarks, right?
Yeah.
So it's giving me flashbacks to all of the rumor mill around GPT-5, right? Like there's so much pressure coming up for GPT-5. People are waiting for it to come, and then there's a whole kind of internal game theory, I think, for the team at OpenAI of like trying to meet people's expectations and not I like the no. I really like the no for December 31st. I think that's being bought entirely based on Sundar's comments from like months ago.
We need Sundar to start tweeting Death Star pictures like Sam Altman again or something like that. Come on, put my back, bro.
Totally.
But yeah. Anyways, yeah. I'm glad you guys asked me about that. That's a cool market.
Definitely. We will have to have you back on the pod to chat about the AI agent polling techniques as you continue to explore that space.
Yeah,
one thing that
Yeah, good. Sorry.
I was gonna say, when relating to LLMs, I'm probably just gonna pull up the docs, throw it into my cursor rules, and see how we can vibe code something with Polyrouter. If anything comes up, I'll let you know.
For sure.
Yeah. No, interestingly, you were demoing for us how to just fetch, the close price for the Gemini market from Polyrouter. There is also a Kalshi market, right, for will Gemini release by the end of the year. So where Polyrouter really shines, correct me if I'm wrong, is you use that query ability that you have to query all markets related to Gemini 3.0 or whatever, and then, attempt to use that data to kind of normalize the strikes. Does it get weird when there's markets like Kalshi will have different strikes, like different expiration date outcomes? That must get really weird because I guess you just don't return those.
You can see the rules. You mind if I screen share again to show you how easy this is, by the way? Sorry for shilling so much, but I'm just really excited.
No, this is why we have you on. You should be shilling, yeah.
We were talking about how easy it is to kind of use, Polyrouter. You can, we were looking at the Gemini markets here. You can literally just one query parameter go here. And then we can see all of the Kalshi ones. So we want to look at, this is before 2026. What did we want? We're looking at October, right? Yeah, there's the October one. So we just copy that, and then we should be able to just drop it in and then get the price history. Okay, I guess. Oh, wait. Let's see. Did I mess something up? I might have messed something up. I'll look into that.
So Kalshi has a October 26th outcome. I guess what I'm getting at is that it's interesting that Polymarket then doesn't. I don't think they had an October 26th one. They had an October 31st.
No, this is the 31st. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, the Kalshi one is also the 31st.
Right.
Okay, I see. Because I guess it's interesting. It's interesting when both these platforms have the exact same outcomes. It's also interesting when they have different outcomes. Like sometimes in the mention markets, there will be a word or two that Kalshi's included that Poly hasn't. With Polyrouter, you could build a dashboard that's basically giving you the full unified. Like it would be interesting to graph the when will Gemini 3.0 release by, but you're including basically additional fidelity from Kalshi if they have outcome dates that Poly doesn't. It's more wisdom of the crowd, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that like let's see. Yeah, I'll have to mess with this. It might be a parsing error, but I'll double check that. But anyways, yeah, I mean like you said, like the ability to be able to access both markets and the relevant data for them in just one way, and it, is really cool and able to expand how people think about building the stuff. They can vibe code stuff, and they don't have to worry about the docs changing between in the middle of the night and breaking everything. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you have more time, Matt? Do you want to talk about the Fed funds market, or shall we call it there?
I'm fine either way. I probably won't give great takes only because I'm so fucking jet lagged. But if we're down to do it, I'm down to do it.
Do you have an opinion on the December rate cut, Caliph?
I wish I did. I feel like I don't want to be uneducated.
No, you're good. Okay, I'll keep it super quick because I don't have a super educated take on this either, except to say, what I find funny about it is that, folks assume, I think, that the PhD economists and the talking heads on Bloomberg and CNBC know something kind of that we don't in order to inform their, Fed decision market. And frankly, for them, the Fed decision market is, I'll pull it up, it is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange's Fed fund futures. So this is basically the OG prediction market for Fed funds, and has been around for quite some time, and does like an insane amount of volume. The volume I think for futures is measured a little bit differently, but it's doing I think as much volume as NASDAQ options on a daily basis. So this is and has traditionally been pretty heavily monitored by the kind of Wall Street folks. At the moment, this is predicting for us, or implying for December, that let's see, the current rate is this one. So 49.3% chance of no change, that the Fed will not cut rates. 50.7% chance of 25 bip cut, as opposed to Polymarket, which I guess it's very, very close. It's 45% chance of no change, 25%, or excuse me, 53% chance of a 25 bip cut. What's interesting is as we get more data from kind of both of these things, kind of like the TradFi suits platform of the CME exchange for Fed funds versus the wisdom of the crowds of the prediction markets, which granted are doing much less volume. But there's definitely an interesting sort of study to be done there of sort of what's the briar for each of these parties. And the other thing I find funny about the whole thing is as you start to plug in a little bit more to, okay, how are, analysts and traders and PhD economists thinking about whether the Fed will cut or not, it's basically just an OG mention market, right? Or it's like a never ending murder mystery dinner party of all day long on Bloomberg and CNBC. These guys are analyzing every freaking word out of every Fed governor's mouth and attempting to discern, you're reading a text from someone you have a crush on or something. It's they're analyzing the emojis that every Fed governor is using in order to basically predict whether or not that person will for a cut or not. So much so that there's a whole ass Wikipedia page on FedSpeak, right? Which is the turgid dialect of English used by the Federal Reserve Board chairs in making wordy, vague, and ambiguous statements. And I guess I just think that most people assume when they look at something like the CME, implied, the Fed funds future, or even the poly market for will the Fed cut in December, because this is this is a $90 million market. They just assume that there's more going on than just listening to what these people are saying and trying to vibe whether or not they're going to cut. But that's pretty much all that's going on. At least I think. I certainly could be missing something. The Fed, of course, is looking at inflation data and employment data. So there's a recipe of stuff beyond just what they're saying that goes into this. But yeah, it's interesting. The movement in this market in the past week has been that the likelihood of a cut has maybe not cratered, but it's come down considerably. Just a week ago, it was topping out at a 75% chance that we cut. And similarly on the CME thing, they do give us a little bit of historic data. So a week ago, similarly, it was nearly a 70% chance of a cut. And then it's kind of come down as the government shutdown ended. And I think there's this fog of data of, whether or not the BLS will actually report jobs numbers for the month of October. And if there is no jobs numbers report, the Fed can't kind of act on, an employment report for October. They would basically just be, a little more information blind. And I think that that's kind of part of what's driving it down. But I just think it's a funny kind of parallel between the TradFi world and the prediction market world. Like they've basically just been doing this. There's tools even to analyze the sentiment of the transcripts of everything coming out of all of the past FOMC meetings. And then you have like Predem Trader and these other prediction market traders basically doing the same thing,
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think I'm glad you mentioned that the price is going down, because I think like something in sports betting that is often mentioned is like watching the line or like seeing where the line closes and like the momentum of said line. And I think that, there's probably more value in, from a trading perspective, like in taking that there was a 75% chance of a cut, right? Correct?
There was about a week ago, and
but it's been shifting down. Yeah, I think like, I think that information is really important for traders, and I think I don't know. I think that if you bring up that polymarket accuracy chart again, I think if I remember, they said that 50-50 markets always are like the haziest and like the kind of noisiest.
Right.
If I remember correctly, or something like that. It's really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, certainly it looks like 50-50 markets. And this is maybe intuitive, right? But like it feels like markets that are 50-50 are ones where, there's kind of just the least conviction, right, by the market one way or another. And so maybe it's not that surprising that the delta between the market expectation and the actual resolution looks, visually at least, like that it's the biggest in that kind of category.
Yeah.
I just want to see this market at some point play out like a sports market where you see it just like cross and be like super volatile. I would love to see a story behind that.
For the Fed rate cut?
Yeah.
It has
like,
happened before.
Mid conversation, it's just like
yeah, no, I mean there have been, instances where the Fed, surprise cuts and it kind of shocks them. I mean, there were a few of these following COVID where like all of a sudden their cut is just much bigger. It would be really interesting to pull the historical data from, I mean, the CME Fed funds futures. Like this has been around forever. I don't know if they give you, in terms of watching the line, like it's kind of funny that it's just a table view of what the odds were one day, 1 week, and 1 month ago. I don't know if you get more fidelity than that. I imagine you can. But there's certainly this market has been wrong before. You know what I mean? Like the Fed will suddenly surprise, not cut or whatever, or slash by like much more than it kind of expects. Yeah.
I shared a video of what is it, a Key and Peele sketch where it's like a parody of Gordon Ramsay, where it's like, this is the best dish ever. No, I hate this, or whatever. And he like makes fun of it. But I was saying that Powell should do something similar so we can get like the market to have a heart attack.
Let's watch it. Let's watch it.
You want to watch it? Let's see.
Absolutely.
Drew, come forward. Yes, chef, this is a chicken quiche with cremini mushrooms, baby spinach, and feta cheese.
Good evening. Or what did you say? Good morning?
Good evening.
Unbelievable. Well, Drew, I have a huge problem with this dish. It's that you haven't made it for me sooner.
Thank you, chef.
Because if you had, Drew, then I would know how good you are at cooking food that's bad.
I'm sorry, chef.
And when I say bad, I mean Michael Jackson bad.
Thank you, chef.
You know how he looked really, really bad at the end of his life?
Dude, this is dead ass. This is actually kind of real. If you watch the FOMC pressers, like Powell will go up there all the time and they'll have just done a cut and the market will be rallying the day of the cut. I mean, even just last month. And then he'll get up there and he'll go, we're worried about employment. And you can watch like the stock market start to either crash or sometimes it rallies on the expectation that there will be more cuts. And then he goes, but we're more worried about inflation. And all, like, it works the entire way. Like the sketch is so much realer even than you would think.
Dude,
it's really good.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, cool. Well, maybe we will wrap there, guys. This has been the first ever Three Markets live stream. I think we'll do more of these, especially for market analysis. And certainly thank you, Caliph, for coming on to our first Builder Spotlight. We'll continue to track the progress of Polyrouter. Where can folks find more info on Polyrouter?
Yeah, we have at Polyrouter on X, and I post a lot of developments about it on my personal account as well at Field Violence. And if you want to grab an API key, Polyrouter is open to the public right now, polyrouter.io. So grab an API key and test it out, build on it.
Hell yeah, sounds great. Matt, anything to close us out?
Just that super excited to play around with it and super excited to see what folks build with it. Yeah, this is I think when you were showcasing some demos of like how other markets would interact with each other, and you mentioned that this would be helpful for yourself, like it would immediately discourage me, or I would just be like kind of annoyed if I had to do a lot of that stuff manually. So thank you so much for doing the Lord's work by setting this up. So, yes, thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you guys for having me on. You guys are best prediction market podcast.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah. That's what we're going for. I think we'll see how well the live format works for us. Like on the one hand, I think for just like looking at markets and chatting about projects, it's like less formal, if you will, than like recording an episode. And then I think all we really want to be able to do is chop up clips of like, here's how folks are thinking about this market, or kind of bring on people for interviews like yourself, and then just kind of clip the most interesting bits. I don't know. What do you think, Matt? Like, are we gravitating toward live, or? I
think we probably should just keep pushing out as much content as we can. we could do live, we could do not live. I like the idea of like at some point in the future we do live. We could talk about markets, and then folks like Caliph are watching and they're like, get me on, boss. And we can just like talk about. Let me call in, do a quick hot take, and then dip. I feel like that'd be very fun too.
Totally. Okay, Doug, I will end it there. Thanks, everyone. Subscribe to the pod on YouTube. Follow Caliph, follow Polyrouter, and we will see you next week for more news and market analysis.